All right, welcome back. Welcome back. And our guest is on set, and let's welcome Mr. Bradon Roberts, TTUTA Tobago Officer. All right, good. All right, good morning and welcome, sir.
Good morning, Brother B, and to
First
the
time on the set
family.
for the year?
Probably not, but it's been a while.
All right, it's been a while. All
Yeah,
right, let's get into it though. But before that, Teachers Get Together is on the
Ni-
18th of June?
the 19th, the
Labor Day?
awards. Yeah.
The 19th of June. All right, and of course, you would normally honor a particular teacher for years of service. So Mr. Aaron Reed.
Yes,
This
he
year.
was our icon this year.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about a little bit about the preparation.
Right, so we have starting this Sunday, we have we go to the church, we have a church service, so we go to the Church of the Icon. So tutor would be accompanying the icon to his particular church where we'll have service with him. We have, following week, we have a webinar where we discuss things pertaining to get together and so on, and the activities roll out, where we would have on the 19th, the evening at Food and Nutrition Building, we do our awards function for our retirees, and we portray our icon on that evening as well. We have on the Friday, which is a holiday, the first time we're doing it on a holiday, the development day for our teachers. Reason being, Wednesday it's a national test for the standard, I believe it's standard 3 and 1 in primary school. And we will have Wednesday out, Thursday and Friday are holidays. So we do not want to take a Tuesday or Monday and have our teaching week erased from our timetable. So we are doing it virtually on the Friday. So teachers who are able to log on, we would want as much teachers logging on, and if not, it's always online that persons can view afterwards. So we will also have, a dinner as well where the retirees, we bring them together for dinner and so on. And that's how our activities roll out.
Excellent. So it's the whole week, you said, right?
Yeah.
A week, exactly. And of course, Mr. Aaron Reed, well deserving of that recognition, of course. I did his story, so I know in Community Legends.
Yes, and most persons may know him for his role in the Teachers Got Talent, I think.
Teachers Got Talent,
Yes.
And of course, principal at Padavia.
Yeah.
And so congratulations, my good friend. All right, let's go into it. All right, contract teachers. Obviously, there is an issue with contract teachers. What are the issues surrounding contract teachers? Are they treated as the regular teachers, and why? Speak to that.
All right, so to bring context, contract teachers came on stream because our schools did not have the establishment needed to fulfill the curriculum. So Scarborough Secondary School moved from a junior school to a 5-year school, and it's now a 7-year school. And Signal Hill Secondary moved from that senior school to become a full-out 7-year school. We, as Tobago THA, did not seek cabinet regularizing the system from a junior school to a 5-year school. So to fill the gap, they temporarily hired persons on contract while they were supposed to work on regularizing the system, so we have a full quota, full complement of teachers in service. The contract teacher thing was not something to explode and end up to where it is. We have had different secretaries and different administrations coming in, and it's always near an election time you're hearing about what they're doing, and things are happening, and the administration may change or the secretary may change, and we are starting from scratch again. So since then, 2001, we had Goodwood Secondary, Mason Hall Secondary, Speyside Secondary, and then Goodwood and Speyside turned 7-year schools. We have not yet regularized those schools to get the establishment. No, the establishment is done by cabinet. So they will say, let's say Signal Hill Secondary or Scarborough Secondary, you can hire 30 teachers. This amount for maths, this amount for English, and so on. So you need to have that structured and sent to cabinet for approval. It is not that THE sent forward anything and was denied, We have just not sent forward anything. And to fill the gap with all the extensions in our secondary school, we hiring persons on contract. So in Speyside, at one point in time, I'm not certain if it is the same case now, but in 2023, when I did the research, they had more contract teachers than in-service teachers. In Scarborough Secondary School, it's close to 20 contract teachers that you have. Now, what that does to the THA, it puts a strain on the expenses because the budgetary allocations does not cater fully for contract teachers and their gratuity. So the 10 million plus that they are owing contract teachers is because they're not able to pull as much funds from the different allocations that they have to be able to honor those payments, and that is unacceptable for the contract teachers. So the THA should be eager to deal with this matter. The education system also suffers because these teachers who are earning 20 years service, 15 years service, are less laborers, They are not able to become a head of department, so the expertise or the years experience, they can't use those as a dean of discipline or the dean in the school, vice principal, principal. So there's no upward mobility. So these persons, no matter how much years experience they gain, are just laborers.
And what is how do we, so the in-service teachers get all the benefits, basically. Sure. The contract teacher is not afforded those accommodation. I don't want to say luxuries, but so the challenge with TTUTA now is to regularize these teachers, and can they be full service teachers? How does that transition, how possible is that transition, if it's possible at all?
Right, so the first thing that needs to be done is the cabinet note, where cabinet could increase the establishment. So you need to create the vacancies in the schools. And then we can have them transition in that those who are eligible go through the interview, the Teaching Service Commission, be appointed to the schools. So that the first thing that needs to be done is for the THA to make a case to central government that these schools, the establishment needs to be increased. That's as simple as it is. Now, of course, you don't just ask for an increase, you have to justify the increase. So we have had data collection drives, they had audits, they had task force, and it always gears up around election time where you see like they're doing some work and then it starts from scratch again. So we'll have a secretary, we had to explain everything to that person all over again. So you could imagine the joy when we had the secretary, Zarisha Hackett, coming in, former contract teacher, carry the division to court. Of course, the court cannot dictate how you employ people.
Okay.
So it's not that the division could employ them in service on their own. So carrying the division to court was not the correct move. We have a chief secretary who was a former contract teacher at Speyside Secondary School. So it's like, right, this is just a matter of time. Within a year or so, this should be resolved. And you're hearing about task force and audit. And then that scrapped because probably the information there wasn't as trustworthy as they would have hoped. And then another task force and another audit. I know that this is an election year, so they would have called the contract teachers to show up. They didn't invite TTUTA because we know what is happening. So they invite the teachers alone to show up and promise that April will be another audit. So we're going to audit again. We are in June. We have not heard anything from them. I was at the division meeting, last meeting, and I was told that ministry played some role and they're waiting on some report, and that's all you get. So persons are saying, if it's taken all these years, why do we believe it's going to happen now? It's the political will or the lack of why it hasn't happened for those years gone by. I am saying, don't assume that you don't have enough information, or don't assume that Trinidad would say no. Ask. If you never ask, you could never get a yes. So this data drive and everything, this data drive is just smokescreen. And I heard the secretary's response yesterday in the media, and they are very crafty with words. They are speaking to having a conversation with the Prime Minister, and the Prime Minister say that they would work with the division once they do due diligence. Well, obviously, what is the due diligence that you're not doing thus far? Or what is the due diligence? What are the step-by-step processes that you are currently working on that the public don't know? And politicians are not any particular party. Politicians have a way with words to keep the population at peace.
Okay, fine.
So it's disheartening because it's not that these two persons don't know what it feels like. They know. They blamed TTUTA for not working on it, So they fuel me. They were not going to blame this Tobago officer for not working on it.
Exactly.
And I know that they may be upset now, but if they were still in the classroom, they would have been very proud of the efforts.
All right. The old question, and of course, Orlando Kerr, he is was in education. He was in your position. What is? Right, let me just ask though, just for, what is his attitude towards this? Given that he was a former, he sat in the same chair that you sat in.
Well, surprisingly, when I became Tobago officer, the first thing was a battle between the Tobago officer and Mr. Kerr in the media. That didn't pan out too well for him, and then that died down. We have a good relationship outside of the work because we had a rapport. A lot of the things that I am doing now, some of them I learned from him, so I have respect for him. In terms of taking up that assistant secretary role in the division, I don't know that we benefited from that.
Okay.
I would have submitted documents to him in January 2023. And I'm still here talking about contract teachers. I went to schools in Trinidad, get the data, how many teachers in this particular department, this student ratio. It's not that we are here just making noise in the public, you know. We went and get data as well because since the company for data, we went and get it.
Very good.
And to this date, we are hearing about audit and task force and nothing tangible to say, this is where we reach.
Very good. All right. There is a shortfall, or there's a demand for teachers, obviously. What are the schools that have a teacher shortage in Tobago that contract teachers are not fully? Are they okay, let me ask you. Are there more contract teachers than regular teachers? and there's a need for full service teachers. Speak to it, separate the two, because let's say that they need a teacher in whatever means not secondary. A teacher may be in line, they give a contract and she comes to teach a specific subject. But let's speak about the demand and, the supply in terms of are there enough teachers in waiting to fill the vacancies that are available?
Right, so it depends on subject area. So there are some subject areas where you're not seeing that dearth of persons who are waiting to come into the service. Some persons would have met me and said the way in which we talk about teaching, persons are not eager to come in. So I hope that is not that tutor and the advocacy and highlighting all the things that we are facing, persons do not want to be a part of it. And I think with the division clean up some of our issues to be more attractive. There are some subject areas like the business areas where most persons when they study, they may study business. It's saturated. So there are a lot of persons on our list waiting to come in.
Okay.
Most persons would resist because they do not want to be in that contract position. So there are some subject areas where there are not teachers to perform those duties in the secondary school. That's in the minority though. But the contract teachers have been filling the gap. The contract teachers are not encouraged though. They do not have any increase in salary to get. So I heard even the secretary talking about doing the arrears for the contract teachers. What usually happens, once in-service teachers' salary go up, they adjust the contract for the next contract. What this administration did, which we are grateful for, they would have gone back to the day in which the teachers' salary increased, and they're doing the increase from then. So there is some arrears to be given to the contract teachers. However, that arrears, by the time I push one trolley car, arrears done because it's small pittance. The gratuity payment is what we really want.
Oh, very good. All right.
So if we have those teachers getting what they need, they would give what we want them to give in the secondary school.
Right. So let's go to gratuity. Let's say a teacher, worked all her life as a contract teacher and is ready to go home. The gratuity is a challenge. Let's speak to what the problems are and compare it to in regular teacher or teacher in service. All right. So what are the challenges with a retired teacher who's willing to go home? However, she's a contracted teacher for all her years of service, and she just does not get the same benefit. Speak to her what she's deprived of and what is available for regular teachers.
Right. So contract teachers need to be financially wise. When you leave as a contract teacher, there's no pension to get. The gratuity that they get at the end of every 3 years, because 3-year contracts they get now, they need to invest wisely, save in certain areas. I do not believe in saving to get wealth. Yeah, they invest. So they need to have that financial education and so on to make good use of their money. The in-service teachers, they get a gratuity, a lump sum, when they retire. And they also get, once they do their 33 and a third, 50% of their salary as their pension. So they have a pension payment as well as a lump sum gratuity. Yes, so the contract teachers, they are on their own unless they have a pension plan and they seek those things on their own in terms of treating with that. What compounds the issue is these contract teachers, sometimes they're waiting 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years to get a gratuity. So their salary, in-service teacher, each year they're entitled to an increased salary. They call that increments. The contract is fixed, so contract teachers don't get that. If they're working for 10,000 in 2010, they'll be working for 10,000 in 2025 unless teachers' salary go up and they change their contract. So their salaries don't change. So those are some of the financial limitations for contract teachers. And it was never meant to be a permanent thing. It was to be a temporary measure until they fix the establishment, which they're not fixing.
Okay. All right. And so what can TTUTA do to... So, all right, given that the contract is a fixed legal document, and you sign on to this, and these are the stipulations that you have to follow and conform to. Once you sign that, there's no accommodation for adjusting or querying and saying that I will go take this to TTUTA. There's no ground for TTUTA to stand on to bring them to some of the benefits that the regular teachers. And that cannot be fixed at all. I don't know. I mean, I heard you talk about one teacher took them to court and all of that, or one contract teacher, and to no avail. What can be done to fix that so that a teacher spending 20 years or near 30 years and ready to go, you telling me because they signed this, or this is the contract approach to teaching, that prevents them from benefiting, and nothing can be done, Mr. Bradon Roberts?
Well, we are in public court, you know. That's what TTUTA is doing here now. We're in public court talking about it. We want the people to understand what it is. Now, the court cannot tell you to hire me full-time or to hire me on contract. So the group, because about 18 of them that took the division to court, that was what the judgment was. What the judgment also gave was interest on the gratuity that the teacher was owing them. So they were able to benefit from that. But the court cannot dictate whether I hire you full-time or on contract. It's your choice to take the contract or not. So what we are highlighting to the public, this is not like in accounts in any other department where there's contract employment. It's not that. The teaching service was not meant to be like this.
Exactly.
This is a temporary measure. Now, because we cannot legally force the teacher to change it, we are seeking these two persons who should have the most understanding about what is happening here to have the political will, because it's political will, and we are making that appeal. There's the belief that we can try again at the court, but my understanding of it is the court would not dictate how you the terms and conditions in employing anybody. So we have been appealing to the secretary. They campaigned on this, you know. I don't know if persons have that memory of them campaigning about how badly they're treating the contract teachers, and they are in power now. So you are going to risk, because I don't know what the turnout would be, not fixing this in the term that you would have had as Chief Secretary and Secretary of Education. Then after election, I'll be forceful on this from now until election, you know, because after election, there's no pressure. They relax. And that's why this issue has dragged on for close to 20 years or more than 20 years. They only feel that pressure near election time. After that, they forget the people. You know, they tell them what they need to tell them, and they keep them calm. And
well, let's go now to someone wanting to get in the teaching profession. Listening to all that, they will not want to be a contract teacher. They would want to be a full service or into the regular teaching profession. What you have now, you mentioned that teachers are proficient in particular subjects. So if it's a math teacher, that's all they can teach. Back in the day, where I knew about teachers is that they went to train in college, teachers train in college, and they are all round. They are trained in every aspect or all subjects.
in the primary school.
In the primary school.
But secondary.
But no, and secondary is different. But let's come now to that. When a teacher or someone goes, they do their degree, and they get a degree, and they are proficient in maths, and that's all they teach. But let's speak about those all-round teachers. Is there still that option, and is that open door for those teachers to avoid the contract, given the pain of the contract teaching? Is there an open door for in-service teachers separate from contract teachers? So I want to be a teacher. I apply, and I'm not going to. I don't want no contract. I want to become a regular teacher. Is that available still?
Right. So it's a little confusing sometimes to the applicant, because not all the contract teachers we have currently knew that they were on contract to start with. So they submit their application. So you go, you get your degree, you submit your application to the Division of Education. What the division would have done, they organized interviews of some of those teachers. So some who, when you just come into the system, when you apply, you don't know that there's a commission to do interview or the division do an interview. So they were interviewed and were placed to teach, believing that they were in service. Only afterwards, to be told that this is a contracted position. So firstly, persons who are applying and being interviewed should seek clarity if it's a teaching service commission interview or if it's in the division interview, we're going to get a contract.
Oh.
So some persons who are contract teachers now, even the secretary, current secretary, would have indicated she didn't know when she started was a contract position she was getting. So you apply and you are interviewed. When I started teaching, I didn't know I was on contract too. I had a 1-year contract. I know I applied, I was interviewed. I did not know about commission and all those things. So there are a number of persons when they apply and become teachers are not aware that there's a teaching service commission that does in-service appointments and that the THA has the authority to do contract employment. So sometimes 2-3 years you're hearing that it's a contract position. You need to do these appraisals and so on to get your gratuity that you may take 3-4 more years to get.
So that's what separates the sheep from the goat in that regard. We are going into a vacation. Before that, though, the whole question of whether a new government is installed and the whole bacchanal with the Scarborough Secondary School should be over. And I would trust that there is, and we are going to see the construction of that school located at Bacalet at least start maybe next year. Any word on, any recent word on that secondary controversial secondary school?
Right, so first of all, when I was going to Scarborough Secondary School, the school was to be rebuilt. And I believe I heard my mom say when she was going to Scarborough Secondary School, there were plans to have a new school because they were looking to get it to a 5-year school. We have had meetings. The last meeting I would have been to, was invited to, may have been in January 23 or somewhere thereabout. I was told that there was a meeting that TTUTA was not invited to with the alumni and all the other stakeholders. They would be careful inviting me because there's so much story you could feed me. The news of the meeting with the Prime Minister and the Chief Secretary and the Secretary is good news. I would not discredit such a move. It's good news. To be excited when the construction starts, that's when the excitement would come. Okay. As far as I am aware, there is yet to be a design. So all this talk, all the time that central government not giving us central government, I'm not aware that THA did their part. We have not gotten any feedback on soil testing to make sure the land that they chose is a suitable land for the school. We had a sud turn-in, which was a political move that I would not also discredit. I like the move. Put pressure on all the parties involved to see that we're ready. But I have not gotten the impression from the THA that they're ready to engage anybody. We have not seen any drawing. If you don't have a drawing, how would you have an idea what the building would cost? When you're asking central government for funding, what funding you're asking for if you don't even have a design? We just ask for open amount of money. So I would want to wait until I see action to be excited about it. It's urgent though, as we have the teachers at the current school. We try to encourage them because every time they see issues at their school, they're fed up, they're frustrated. And we want teachers focused on teaching. I don't want them hearing about a spouting leaking and but even cracking. And that is not something I want teachers focused on.
Very good.
We need to give our best to our students. And if the teachers are not focused, we're not able to give our best.
All right, so we are eagerly, we are cautious. However, we anticipate that the school will be built maybe next year. All right, so that's what I can say. All right, we are optimistic is what I wanted to say. All right, let's go into the challenges with the schools. Of course, school vacation is maybe a month away or a couple of weeks again. Graduation and all the other things that goes into school life. From the secondary schools to primary schools and of course even kindergarten have their graduations. Let's speak about overall view as to where tutor can fit or will fit in. In some cases, parents go overboard in terms of the graduation and put unnecessary costs on themselves. And then we will get into the school preparation for the vacation for repairs to benches and chairs.
Right, so this June to July period is the busiest time for me. All schools will send in their invitations. I would seek to have a team of district officers to support, as I'm not certain what some of the schools would hear, but they always pick the same dates. So the 17th is my first graduation that I have to attend, and there are 5 schools having graduation that same day. There are other days as well. Now we have about 40-something schools in Tobago, so it's understandable that there will be some clashes, but some days are heavier than some. The focus on graduation and the quality of graduation, I would not want persons to challenge, the quality in terms of the expenses going into it too much. Reason being, I had a different view before in that we're spending too much money in this and trying to have this thing glamorous. But rethinking, let the children have at least one day of something positive and grand and exciting in that light. In that we are competing against daily negative energy coming from our schools. It's endless fights. It's parents coming in because they fed up about their child being bullied, not so parents getting involved in it. You see the amount of negativity surrounding our schools. So I like, even when I see the secretary celebrating the athlete from Mason Hall and so on, I like more of the positive things coming forward, because we are losing the battle in the media with positive and negative news. So if we're going to give these children a chance where we're celebrating them and it's something grand, I have a different thought on it now when I think about all the negative things coming out of our school system. We should, however, have a conversation with the parents. So schools should not be setting 2,000, 2,500, 3,000 graduation fees, not knowing the pockets of the parents. So I would hope that the graduating committee of the schools would have the conversation with the parents before they decide on these grand things. And we know that parents can afford. So we also visit the schools. We give a little advice where we can. We go to the graduations. We give more of a motivational speech than the run-of-the-mill congratulations. And so we want to give them something that they can take to the next school and so on.
Very good. All right, so let's talk about school repairs. Obviously, during these 2 months is when all repairs to whatever situation in the school, maybe derelict benches and so on. Let's speak about that. Readiness for repairs to schools, because sometimes after school, we discover that there's some that was not attended to in terms of the repairs. So speak to us as to where TTUTA is in terms of getting the assembly or contractors ready to take care of the issues that are affecting the schools.
Right. So as I say to all other outlets, media, all other media, we have a collaborative relationship with the division as best as possible. So it's not always banter and so on. We did our research with our staff representatives in our schools, the tutor representatives in all our schools. We gathered the data and we submitted that to the division. So I gave the secretary a copy, and I also gave the administrator a copy. So they are aware of what TTUTA has, but they do their own thing. They get from the principals directly as well. So they have 2 sets of information that they can work with. I would say that having the experience, because when they just came in, dealing with the volume of repairs and so on, it may be a learning experience for those 2-3 years. This year cannot be another learning experience. This year has to be a year where we understand the thing already and know how early we need to start, because those previous years, we have been starting very late. We're starting late all the time. So they got information from TTUTA already.
Right.
I believe if principals have not submitted already, they should be submitting pretty soon. Now, the month of June, they should be steadfast behind scope of work and all those stories, so that July, the schools close, we start with repairs. It cannot be late July, August. Late August, sometimes they're starting. And we go around to gather information while the repair is going on, so we can let them know, hey, this was discovered afterwards. This job was not done properly, or is not being done properly. The last repair program just before school opened, the week before school opened, they called a star meeting, the division, and I had information to present. Based on the information, they were able to go and visit some of those schools quickly and treat with them. So we need to have a collaborative relationship. I would not blame the higher ups at the division when there are persons on the ground who are to go out and work on those things. So they may not know everything. So once we collaborate, we will aid in having that eye out there and so on. So they have the information.
Right.
They should not be starting late.
Very good.
This
All right. The teachers still have to buy stationaries and office equipment. Still, the last time you came here, well, not the last time, we spoke about some of the challenges that basic things that you would think that the school, a teacher had to go into their pocket to purchase. Where are we with that? Is that sorted out, or teachers still have to pull out money from their pocket to buy ordinary, simple things?
Well, if I may say, it's getting worse, you know.
Wow.
We have teachers buying their own printers. So they're buying printers, they're buying ink. Some used to buy ink for the school printer. But now the printers in the school is not working. When we go to the division meetings, you'll hear where they are at procurement and getting new printers and so on. Some of the challenges, the parts for the printers, they're hard to source. Some of them may be outdated and so on. Photocopying machine, many of the photocopy machines are down. So some schools don't have a printer nor a photocopy machine. So I'm not certain how they use the resource into photocopying stuff for children. So the children who don't have the textbook, you can photocopy a page or two for them when you don't have those resources available. So I know a lot of teachers, they print, they buy their own printer. The photocopy machine.
They buy their own printer and give it to the school?
No. They would buy, so the schools, they may buy ink. If the school's printer is working. Some of them may buy ink for the schools. But majority of the schools have issues with their printer and their photocopy machine. So some of these teachers are buying their own printer. So they print their stuff at home and they bring it to school. We have basic things like the toiletries, toilet paper towel, bleach. Earlier this year, I spoke about that already, where the PTA had to step in because the division didn't have that to supply to the schools. Principals with the fundraising that they do, when schools raise funds, because there are a lot of expenses that a school would have, it's not to buy those things, you know. The division needs to supply those things, and schools have programs that will have a cost that the division are not taking care of. So the schools raise funds for that, not to buy toilet paper and to buy bleach.
All right.
I know funding for the division is a challenge. So if you get the contract teachers off, that is not something that you have to find money to go and pay contract teachers or gratuity. They have money to see about other things. So allocations is an issue for the division. We know that there is the complaint of the central government not sending enough money to Tobago. So we need to be prudent with it. But school resources, education, I do not know that is an area you're going to be pulling funds from.
Exactly. And so we hope that, and come on, but who audits or take the inventory? Is it TTUTA and send it to the Division of Education? Let's say that all the schools, like from Maria, wherever, primary, secondary, and you recognize there are certain things that are lacking. Let's say printers. Do you send that to? Is it TTUTA's responsibility, or is it the Division of Education have its people to do that? What you call Education Officer 1 and 2 and so on. Who is responsible for informing the division what is lacking in the schools?
So there are 3 groupings involved. So the division have their persons, procurement, project implementation unit officers. They will visit schools and so on and check on those things. Principals, we encourage principals to liaise directly with the division as well, although you liaise with the tutor. So the principals will inform tutor, but they will also firstly inform the supervisors in writing. So the principals will inform the division through their supervisor. Tutor, when we have our monthly meetings, we bring the concerns that we would have gathered to the division. But as I say, most of the responses speak to funding. I have heard, by the way, that some of the suppliers are not taking these vouchers or notes from the THA in that they take a long time to pay suppliers. So we hear some of those things, and that would have been even from the previous administrations, where the suppliers are frustrated by the length of time they take after they honor these notes that they're not being getting the compensation.
They're reluctant.
So they're reluctant to be giving supplies on a division
so
note.
what, and you have to ask, education is one of the most important divisions in the division, in the
TTUTA.
And why are they allowing to have bad credit? Because that's basically it. Anyway, all right, so we deal with the repairs, and we expect that the contractors would get their contracts and start as early as possible. There are issues with air conditioning, I understand, and other areas for even the principal office and so on. Let's speak to those areas where, things that need to be maintained. In some cases, they have to see contractors, because I remember back in the day, they used to have works. Let's say they have a bulb to change with somebody from works that would come and change the bulb and so on. But let's speak to that maintenance aspect so that things are operational.
So I know that the division still collaborates with works. However, funding is still an issue. The works may supply the manpower. The division would have to get the resources. And in all fairness, even with the former administrator, you would see where they're trying their best to use the money that they have. So that's why I've always said the THA need to be transparent with the public so they understand the pressure that they are under. Because it's not that, for me, based on the meetings I'm at with the division, is a lack of trying by the division, is that they're working with this limited funding that they have. I don't believe it's mismanagement by the administrator at all. However, if we are open with the public and Tobagonians understand the kind of pressure that central government puts me under, you would have the support of the wider Tobago. But we're not getting a transparency as to what are the outstanding costs, what schools you want to fix but you can't fix because you don't have the money. Be open, and you will have the PTA support, your tutor support, because we understand that if you do a budget, knowing that you need $3 billion and you get $1 billion, you have had problems in using that. So there are schools like Lambo Anglican. That school is extremely hot, even by 10 o'clock. That school is extremely hot. The division indicated that they have plans to treat with that school. We have Mount St. George, and I need to raise Mount St. George School. Whenever rain falls, as is downwind from the dump, is a carpet of flies you will see at that school.
Wow.
So the teachers, it's very uncomfortable to have lunch there. The children having lunch during lunchtime is a very challenging thing. One of the teachers would have described to me, sometimes you're bringing up your food and there's a fly accompanying you.
My God.
That food item to your mouth. So the reason that the division, they would have had health come and as best as possible do whatever procedure to help ease as best as it is. But something needs to be done, because the temporary measures it's not satisfactory. The teachers are facing this amount of flies on a daily basis, especially it's way worse when rain falls. Yeah. So there are things that we need to deal with. There will be costly things. So I'm hoping that this new relationship with the central government brings adequate funds to Tobago, and that Tobago manages it properly, because it hurts me when I hear about wastage and poor spending by the THA, knowing that we hardly have money. We have a lot of bills outstanding where education is concerned. They are owing contract teachers more than $10 million, and we're wasting money on projects. So it hurts me when I hear these things. But we also need to come together and rally to get the amount that we need from central government.
Excellent. Mr. Roberts, as we get ready to close, obviously, teachers get together celebration. Is that what you call it?
Yes.
And of course, this year's celebrant would be Mr. Aaron Reed. And of course, the event starts when again? Just remind us.
Sunday, actually. This coming Sunday, we have the church service, and we continue with online with our webinar, where we explain things about get together and so on. And we roll all into the 19th, where we have the awards function. The Friday is development day following that. And there is the dinner where the retirees icon, they all come and we have that dinner.
So the teachers' talent contest, that ain't coming back at all?
Well,
they revived in honor of Mr. Reed.
I have been part of meetings throughout as to how we can get it going again. However, we have not gotten to that point of bringing it back on stream, but it's something that I know a lot of persons look forward to.
Yes, it was nice. Yeah.
In Trinidad, I think one of the districts, I believe it's the Victoria district, they have some aspect of it, but it is something that brought some excitement and so on, seeing some of those teachers coming and singing and so on. So it is something that we have been in the background, look at the logistics. Now, these things are costly things.
Okay.
So in some of those meetings that we were planning on bringing those things back, it's about where we're getting the funding from. We have written to business persons, but a lot of persons are feeling the pressure as it is now to even sponsor. And
Yeah,
so.
it's easy. All right. Mr. Roberts, all the best to you and thank you very much. I didn't see you dancing for these days. I don't know what happened. I think dancers saw him having the thing and didn't see your name there and so on. But you're still dancing?
I gave it a little rest.
Really?
Yeah, I gave it a little rest. You see, this year is my final year as Tobago Officer.
Okay.
I'm very focused on that.
Okay.
Very focused on
So
that.
everything else take a rest.
Yes, so next year I'll get back into it.
Yes, indeed. I'm a ballroom dancer, just in case you don't know. All right. Again, thank you for being here and all the best to you.